Good yawn. So, Ryan, so over the past kind of couple of weeks, we've really been trying to talk about the kind of stress and anxiety that you've been feeling just regarding kind of like current situations that you've been involved in, like with relationships, work, school, and trying to manage all of that. So, I guess for you, what's kind of been the more difficult thing to kind of manage for you?
My finances.
Your finances.
Mm-hmm.
So like so specifically, just trying to like manage and try to budget what goes where.
I'm just not knowing where the money's gonna come from because of
Oh, okay.
COVID, in and out of work, quarantine. So yeah, money, money,
Money,
money,
money, money,
money,
money.
honey.
That's right. No, that's really tough, especially because so many people are really struggling with that. So I can definitely understand where you're coming from when it comes to trying to manage your financial situation. Um, but like when it comes to that, like how do you feel like you've kind of been doing and being able to handle that for yourself so far?
I don't know. I'm a little stressed out, but I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
stressed
just
out.
stressed. Yeah.
Okay, right on. Well, I think one thing I would like to do with you today, if you're willing, would you be interested in trying to kind of learn a new method or a new way that you can be able to kind of better, or not say better, but be able to manage the stress that you're going through and the things that you're experiencing?
Yeah.
Would you be open to that?
Sure.
Okay, cool. So one thing I'm going to do, so you'll have that notepad, and while we do it, I'm going to kind of do it with you as well. But I'm going to kind of explain to you the situation and what I'm going to ask you to do. So for this first thing, what I'm going to ask you to do is kind of, I want you to take this page, this notebook,
Mm-hmm.
and in the paper, one thing I want you to do is kind of write like a circle, kind of like this, in the page. Okay, so kind of like a little size chicken egg, not a turkey or ostrich. And for you, Ryan, what I want you to do is I want you to go along with me, and what we're gonna do. This aspect, it's a mind and body bridging
Mm-hmm.
aspect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so this is something that is very brain based. It's not philosophical or anything like that. It's based upon the things that we experience for ourselves and what we kind of encounter with our thoughts and how we feel within our body. So one thing I want you to do for you, Ryan, like go ahead and in that circle, I want you to write down kind of like the biggest stressor that you have. So we mentioned finances, so if that's it, go ahead and write that down.
Okay.
Okay, or money or whatever it is. Okay, so next, what I'm going to ask you to do is I'm going to give you about like 90 seconds, 2 minutes of your time, and I want you to take this, and I want you around this circle and around what's in there, I want you just to kind of just unleash on this paper. Not like, punch it or, poke it a little bit, but rather what I want you to do is allow all those thoughts, those experiences, those things that are really in your mind, and kind of put them on the paper. Just let loose, let it go, and whatever comes to your mind, write it down. Don't worry about if you misspell or anything, but just go ahead. So whenever you're ready, give it a go. Give it a go. Okay. All right, so go ahead and take a moment and kind of finish up your next your last or next kind of couple thoughts. And when you're done, just let me know.
Okay.
You good? Okay. So for you, Ryan, so in doing this, kind of talk to me like what your experience was like with kind of these thoughts for yourself. Were they kind of just like quick and scattered, or was it more kind of like a slower process for you?
Just non-linear nonsense, man. Just a bunch of just stress-induced blah all over
Okay.
paper.
All right. So just kind of like the general stressful stuff that you've kind of been thinking about over the past
Mhm.
couple
Yeah.
of
Like
days.
fear.
Fear? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so you mentioned that and kind of like the fear behind like some of these thoughts. Next, I want you to, what kind of, as you were writing, what kind of tension in your body did you kind of experience, if any?
Yeah, like my forehead had pressure. I don't know. Just noticed like forehead pressure, a little bit of stress in the shoulders.
Okay. Will you write that down at the bottom of the page, the kind of the pressure and where you felt it? Okay. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so next, so for you, Ryan, in going through this process, how do you feel like you would function having to kind of go through this experience like every day? Like, how do you feel like you would kind of be able to do it?
Well, I don't see that this makes much sense, so I don't know that I'd be willing to do it right now. It's just
right. It's just a little interesting thing, huh?
Mhm.
Okay, so next, we're gonna do another thing. So go ahead and tear this piece of paper out, and kind of just set it over here to the side, awesome. Okay, and so what I'm gonna have you to do this time is, same as the last one, do that little circle in the middle of the page, with the same thing that was written inside. And what I want you to do with this time is, instead of kind of what we did with the last one with our thoughts and the things that we were thinking, this time what I want you to do is kind of pay attention and notice the sensations that you experience around yourself and the things that are taking place around you. So, for instance, you could say, write down the things that you feel. So what it's like right now to be sitting down on the couch, to be planted, kind of submerged into the couch. What potential things you can hear outside, what things you hear inside, whether you hear, the ticking of their on, and those things. And I really want you to focus on that and some other stuff of, what it's like to have the pencil in your hand, the pen in your hand, and the coolness of the paper when you touch it, just things like that. Okay? And so same as last time, I'm going to give you the same amount of time, 90 seconds to 2 minutes. So when you're ready, just go ahead and start doing that. And I'm going to do it with you. Again, just kind of focus on those things that you're picking up around you. Sounds of outside. The cat walking on the floor. If thoughts come to your mind, it's okay. Just let them go. Go back to the things that you're feeling. Okay. Let's go ahead and take a couple seconds. Finish up the last kind of couple thoughts that you're on, and let me know when you're done. Okay, so similar to the last map that we had that I had to do, what was your thought process like doing this map compared to this first one?
A little more linear.
More linear? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't as scattered. A little bit more calm.
Awesome.
Not as, not as fearful as I was in the first one.
That's awesome. That's great. What about you kind of mentioned some of those last body things. You kind of mentioned some head pressure that you wrote down, kind of some stuff in your back. So what about this time? What did you notice about that pressure or other pressure in your body?
Yeah, no, it's not as stress. No, not. I just didn't really feel it in my forehead as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, just much more calm.
Okay. So you were able to kind of, those tensions that you felt first time weren't necessarily there this next go.
Yeah, not as much.
Okay. For you, how would you like to function more in this kind of state of mind?
Yeah, I feel a little bit more. Obviously, you get more done if you're calm. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. So one thing, when it comes to doing this, I'm going to kind of explain kind of the purpose of this and what kind of happens for us. So when you did that first map, when we go through those things, at times when we experience stress or we experience difficulties in our lives, we kind of operate through this our I system, our identity system. So when you kind of hear that identity system, what's to your mind when you hear that?
Well, when I hear identity system, I don't know. I just kind of think about myself and how I label myself.
Okay, no, that's really good. That's really good. That's really kind of falls in line with what that process is. The identity system is something that we experience when we become stressed or we experience difficult situations. We kind of become very inward focused on ourselves, what we're trying to navigate this world through with things that we kind of believe about ourselves or how things around us should be. And so it's kind of like comparative to like looking through life through like a telescope. Have you ever looked through a telescope before? So you kind of like you kind of get into like a really squared up image of only a specific area, right? So you're like, if you're looking up at the moon, you can only kind of see the moon, not necessarily like the stars kind of around you. And so that's kind of like for ourselves when we're in the when we're in that identity system is.
So what you're saying is it makes my problems bigger if I focus on my problems?
At times it can, but also what it does is it makes it so we become so focused on those things that we're experiencing, and so we're kind of so focused on this, whereas we're missing a lot of other things and other experiences that can kind of help relieve that stress.
Sure.
Whereas when you kind of come back from that telescope and you can kind of see your world around you, you can see the birds, the trees, everything that allows us to kind of experience who we are. Yeah. And when we have that experience, it's called our true self, which our true self is kind of interpreted as all of who we are. So not just those experiences, the stress, the financial difficulties that we have, but rather everything that kind of allows us to become who we are and what we want to be. The reason why we kind of go through this and we do these things is we know that by doing this exercise of thought mapping and kind of thought labeling, it allows us to be able to pinpoint these things that we experience, but also kind of why we experience these. Why am I so focused on trying to maintain my sanity through these financial difficulties of not having money? And it allows us to then, by kind of taking a step back and recognizing the sensory awareness or the things that's going on around me, kind of helps take me from this really concentrated situation and allows me to kind of expand and focus on other things that can kind of benefit me. Do you feel like this is something that, as you continue to learn more about it and to kind of maybe practice it a little bit more, do you feel like this could kind of be a little tool in your tool belt to kind of help you navigate not just this experience, but other experiences that you can encounter as well.
Sure.
Right on, man. Good work, dude. I like that.
Alright, thanks.
Same.
And roll credits.
Watch. 8 minutes.
Alright.